So in today's Creative Confidence catch up, I'm going to be chatting with Spencer. So Spencer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Amy. Hi, everyone in the creative community. My name's Spencer. Um, I my thing is to make tables. I like making tables out of mostly wood, some upcycling, so they already exist, and I use a technique called Shou Sugi Ban, which is a ancient Japanese art of preserving wood with fire. So it's a lot of fun. You have to be careful. You have to have the right setup, but it's a lot of fun. And I also like to find strange objects at the market
Ooh.
and make tables again. I love making tables. It's not all about tables, but I just found that I really enjoyed that side of it. And my tables are now sitting in some very nice places as well. So that's always, when you're creating things, they get a new home.
Mm.
um, I really enjoy that side of things. So that's a little bit about me. The story is much longer, but
That's
that's a
brilliant.
little bit.
No, it's a start. No, it's great to have like an intro as to like what it is that you've been up to and up to this point. But yeah, my first question to you today is like, what does confidence mean to you then? Like you're in this realm of creativity. You've like obviously had an interest in like tables, furniture, upcycling. When did that start, and how did you find your confidence with like sharing that with the world?
Oh wow, this is going back a few years, but I had a very high pressured job
Mhm.
in a sports gambling industry,
Oh, really?
and for about 20 plus years, 23 years or something. And I went through a period about 9 years ago where there was a lot of bereavement in my family,
Hmm.
and I had actually moved to Barcelona. So I was living in Barcelona, coming back, dealing with a lot of bereavement issues and breakdown of a relationship. And when all these things, it was like very, very overwhelming, as you can
Mhm.
imagine.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
so being involved in that high pressure job no longer seemed very feasible for me. Mentally, it wasn't, it was very, very draining. So I opened a workshop, or I rented a space in a
Nice.
workshop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The lady that rented the space to me, she was a ceramist and I found out sort of, as we got to know each other, that these beautiful plates and creations that she was making sit in a lot of Michelin restaurants in Barcelona and indeed throughout the world, London included. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, what have I done? This lady's so creative. What am I going to do? Because I literally had no idea. But I'd been to the market and I'd bought a few different little bits of odds and sods, some strange things, and I just started on this. I think I've posted it actually. The fan table.
Oh, yeah. They were really
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
well, it wasn't a. I don't think it was a fan because it was covered in concrete. So I think it was some sort of industrial mixer. Okay,
Mm.
and I just started to clean it, and I had this idea for a table, and yeah, I think you've seen it, right? It
Hmm.
came out really well. I had to learn a lot of different techniques. It took quite a long time, but that was my very first project. And I found that it just gave me such a sense of, I don't know. I certainly wasn't confident.
Hmm.
Um, certainly wasn't confident. In fact, I was very shy to even show it to anyone. But with the help of Esther, her name is, with the help of Esther, she was really encouraging,
Hmm.
and it didn't turn out at all bad. To be fair, Um, but I guess my first bit of confidence it came from her.
Hmm.
It actually came
Yeah.
from her. So it was that encouragement from other people. Then I sort of people were very intrigued. My friends in Barcelona, they were very intrigued because I'd lived there for about 4 years before I sort of really stepped into this world.
Hmm.
And I invited them to come to the workshop, And it just, you know, and they were really supportive. I found that there wasn't anyone that had any negative
Mm.
things to say about it, you know. Um, Only on the side of, well, are you going to be able to do this for a living? Can you earn
That,
money at this? I mean,
that's
that's
one thing people always
yeah,
say, don't they? Oh, you're going to make a living. And it's like, don't think about that. It's like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Let me concentrate on that. And then we'll get to the other bit at a later date. But yeah, I get you.
yeah, that was kind of, I was in a fairly fortunate position where I could spend certainly the first year without, you know, really worrying about finances. So I was in a good position now. By no means rich, you know, no means. I had about a year to try and make this work. And so I did that. That was my very first project. And that instilled me with quite a bit of confidence, even though, I mean, it didn't sell for years, that
Mhm.
table.
Oh,
Because
really?
I mean, it weighed a ton. It had a glass top. It had these tripod legs. It was very unique.
Mhm.
Um, had a couple of bars that were interested in it, but it was very fragile. Not fragile.
Mm.
It had this glass top, and it wasn't kid friendly. Put it that way. You know, or maybe even in a bar, you know, alcohol friendly, maybe.
Yeah.
You know. So it didn't sell. So I had that sat in my flat for a number of years. Is actually now in someone's home in Barcelona. So that was great. And plus, I don't think I actually wanted to sell it. You know.
Mm.
But I realized I was on the path of doing something that I really enjoyed. I mean, you couldn't keep me out of the workshop, you know? It wasn't like work. It was, you know, I'd be down there at 6 in the morning and leaving at 8 at night, you know,
Yeah.
and loving it. And then I stumbled across a technique called Shou Sugi Ban, which is burning wood with fire, you know, preserving wood with fire. And there's different ways, so you can burn it and then you scrape it away and you'll end up with different colors, and there's lots and different textures, and there's lots of different ways you can take it from the rawest form to quite a manufactured look, you know. And that I'd found something that I really, really enjoyed doing. I mean, you look like a coal miner, you know, by the end of the day, you know.
All the burnt
um,
wood.
Yeah, yeah, and you smelt and all the rest of it. But I didn't mind. I just loved it. And I had the place, you know, Esther was very accommodating. We shut off this outside part of the workshop so that, you know, so that I could do it. And she was just so accommodating with it. Without her, none of this would have really happened. I don't think, you know. Um, and slowly, through, and I was very, very shy. So going back to the confidence, like even opening an Instagram page was a big thing, you
Imposter
know.
syndrome.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, in spades, you know. And just will anyone like it? Because it's all very well, you know, your friends liking it, pressing the like button, so you get most of that. But then when you do a few sponsored ads or something, you get a bigger audience looking at it. And some of the comments were great, and I slowly started to sell these things, you know, console tables, small coffee tables. And this one guy, come on, he was English, but he was of Chinese origin, and he ran a very successful company in Barcelona. And he asked to see me in his office. So I went up to his office in his big tower block, and it was very plush. And he commissioned two 3 meter long tables. And
Awesome.
I mean, I agreed to it, but I was like, whoa,
Was this
you know,
from the social media then, like putting
from
posts out?
Instagram, yeah. And
Yeah.
this one guy ended up buying 12 pieces for his office, for his home. I mean, this guy, it sort of varied a little bit, you know, there was varying shades and stuff like that, but he was really into it. And he bought 12 pieces in the space of 3 months, and for good money, actually, you know.
Yeah.
Looking back, I wish I'd charged more, you know, because I think it was worth it. But you're very shy at the beginning, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you don't
You
know
got to
what it's
start
worth.
somewhere. It's like
And
having a middle ground, isn't it? You don't want to like make it so it's so cheap that people are thinking, why is that? But then at the same time, you don't want to outdo yourself where it's like, well, no, I'm not getting back to them again and finding cheaper.
yeah, and because he was the first person, I mean, I'd made a couple of benches and a very small coffee table, like 900, 90 centimeters long, 70 centimeters wide. It was very small, with some hairpin legs on it, very basic. And he'd seen this on Instagram and loved it. So he commissioned these huge tables, which I'm working alone, right? I mean, it's 3 meters by a meter. It was massive. I had to get friends to come and help me turn the things over and stuff like that. It was all but it was all a bit of a hodgepodge. I was winging it, but they came out great. And so he went on to buy more and more things, and that really gave, I think that is where the confidence comes from. So if you're brave enough to put yourself out there, in my experience, it's mostly only good things that come from it. Yeah. So that's what that's kind of what got me rolling. And then I went on to work. I have a very good Argentinian friend in Barcelona who's a master at refurbing bars, restaurants, flats. But he's so skillful in carpentry and all sorts. He has a really good eye for things. And he started to use my work. So I did 12 benches for a Peruvian ceviche restaurant. We did these other projects for seating in a Gotnik, it was called, this Russian bar, and so it just kind of snowballed. And I think when that happens, I don't think it ever leaves you that sense of insecurity about your work.
Oh no,
because every bit is different, and when you're working with something that's so bespoke as well, and it can really come out very differently on different days, depending on the wood that you're using, even though it may be the same breed of wood, if you like, it can react differently. And so you're always not quite sure. You cannot say to someone, it's not like going to IKEA and it's going to look like this.
No.
That doesn't happen. And it took me a long time. In fact, Francisco, the Argentinian guy, he was the guy that really instilled in me that you approach the clients, you say, this is what we've got, with the finished product. Look at this. And you kind of bring them almost round, how wonderful this is.
Like it's going to benefit and serve them, isn't it? It's not just a thing to try and sell to them. At the end of the day, if it's going to benefit what they have, like their how can I put it, like if they've got restaurants, it's going to benefit the look of their brand and what they're all about, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. And we made some really nice concrete tables. So I made these wooden benches in Shou Sugi Ban, and then we had these really sort of metal and micro cement topped. So there's a real, you've got metal, you've got concrete, you've got this natural wood that's had this fire treatment. And they're still there. I mean, this was pre-pandemic, and they're still there. They're one of the, because a lot of restaurants shut down, obviously pandemic, but they're still there, those guys, and the setup still looks great to this day. So you have to try and get the client on board, to really buy into what you're doing, but also be very aware that it can turn out for them not to have a fixed idea. And to let you go with that. And if you can find people like that, then that, again, going back to the confidence thing, that if someone's going to buy into you, I think that's really important with the confidence thing. And certainly it kind of breeds from that. But even me personally, anyway, when I go to the next client, it's like it's the first time.
And it's building that rapport with those people as well, isn't it? So like somebody who you've done work for, you've got an idea already as to what they like and how they like things done. And then obviously if somebody else comes to you, then it's like, well, they aren't going to want exactly what they want. So then it's trying to adjust and get a feel for what it is that they want and figure all that out.
Exactly. And then you're having to explore different ways to make this one process become slightly different and look different in a different setting, you know. It's all
Mhm.
about how you can use it, which is, it's, you know, not coming from that sort of design background or anything is quite a challenge, you know.
So didn't you come from like a design background? Like had you done woodwork or anything like in college or anything
No,
like that? No.
I'd I think I know where my love of tables comes from. I worked when I was very young, 19, 20. I worked for an antique restorer for a while.
Oh, that's so
Well,
cool.
I was actually seeing his daughter, and he gave me a job sort of driving antiques
Oh.
around, but I would do things in the workshop for him as well. He was a genius, the fella, Chris
Hmm.
Smith, his name is. And I saw him creating these beautiful tables. They were cast iron,
Hmm.
and they were getting shipped to America, as I remember. And it was from the I don't know if anyone's familiar with the Palace Pier or the West Pier in Brighton, which is where I'm from. Well, the West
Oh.
Pier burnt down, and they used all the very Victorian, I guess Victorian, cast metal, cast
Hmm.
iron balustrades. Are they? I'm not quite sure how. What the ornamental ironwork, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And they were used. They salvaged them, and they were used to make these tables that got shipped off to America with this
Mm.
great story of Victorian England, you know. And ever since that day, I'd always had it in my mind. And then when I moved to Barcelona, all these, you know, beautiful architecture, there's a lot of this ironwork around, you know. And so I think that was the table connection, I think.
Yeah,
Not
but it's
quite
one of
sure.
those things, isn't it? You see other people doing certain things. Like at the moment, I've like I'm doing like as well as doing what I'm doing here, I'm doing like a pottery work. So I've worked in pottery before, doing decorating, but this time it's more like the actual throwing. So making and it's like such a I don't know, you get a feel for it. And then for me, like it's about the experience of what it brings. So it's more about the experience of doing and creating, and it puts you in that
Yes.
sort of meditative state, and it's quite nice.
That's hit the nail on the head for me. I mean, it
Mm,
does. I mean, this is where what I was saying about you couldn't get me out of the workshop because I would
mm,
just lose hours. You know, turn around and I hadn't eaten and things like that. You know, I was like 6 o'clock. God, I only had breakfast. You know, it'd be 10 hours later. So I get what you're saying about that meditative, that trance-like
mm.
state where you just, you know, it becomes all consuming, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I suppose
Yeah.
that's another way to get kind of people on board with it, because it's like when people are like, oh, creative, I'm not creative, but it's like, yeah, but what if you tried a skill or tried something you've never done before and you try it? It might be the best thing you've ever done. And then you not only have you learned a new skill, but it's helping you to wind down. And because that's for me, I find winding down can be pretty hard. So when you find something
Yeah.
that helps you, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Mm.
Yeah, because in my previous job, I mean, I was working. It was my own business. I was working
Oh, really?
24/7. You know, it was in this industry where you had to keep your eye on the ball every day of the week. Some days would be lesser hours, and it was quite good. Like it's quite flexible, but you'd work late into the night. And so to do this process, you know, back in the workshop was it was just a different feeling, just a totally different feeling. And I think that that's what a lot of people in this day and age could really do with, you know, is to
Definitely, yeah.
disconnect, even if they can't do what I did and take a year out and try and, you know, work like that. But even at the weekends or in the evenings, you know, instead of sitting in front of the telly, for example, whatever people do, you know, which is fine, by the way, we all do it, don't
Yeah,
we? You
yeah.
know, but
Hmm. Hmm.
you know, if they could connect, that's what I'm really passionate about is trying to get people to do that
Yeah.
because I didn't know that I had that in me, you know, and I'm quite late in life. I'm 54 now, you know,
Mm.
so it wasn't as if, you know, it was a real change for me, you know, and I think that people could really benefit from that. And also, like with I don't know, in some ways, if they do have confidence issues, you know, or they do have um, anxiety issues even, you know, this process, it doesn't matter if the world actually gets to see it, but the process that you can go
Yeah.
through, I found really helped my fragile mental state at the time,
Yeah.
which was down to bereavement and,
Mhm.
a few other different issues, and it did, it worked. And so I'm very passionate about trying to, in fact, I'm working on ways of, being able to get that message out there,
That's
and which was so great about coming across you and your Facebook group,
Thanks so much.
because it was really exactly where I thought, I wanted to be, so
Right.
yeah,
Oh, that's ace. It is
yeah,
great to like when people do like say, oh, like it's nice being here and stuff, and just being able to share. And it's not about like when people think the expectation of art and creativity, it's got to be a certain way, and people are fearful, so they don't. But when really there's a lot of people that will resonate that, oh, I felt like that, I felt imposter syndrome, I felt like, so when they do go to share it, at least people have got those like they can resonate with these different stories, which makes it then easier to share what it is that they really want to say.
100%, 100%. I mean, you should have seen some of the first things I created. Going back to the metal table, that was a big project that took a long time,
Mm.
to get off the ground. But I was messing about with all other different things. I remember I had this trumpet and I turned it into a lamp, and so there's all these
Interesting. You got
really
to try it. You just
crazy
got to try it
little
though.
things.
Experiment and
Uh,
play and be
yeah,
curious, and better, well, not better things happen, but from curiosity, things start to emerge that you never thought were possible.
Well, that's the surprising thing about it. I mean,
Mm.
you start to mess around, and I felt right really under pressure because, like I said, Esther was making all these beautiful ceramics.
Nice.
So I've kind of felt a bit under pressure. Oh gosh, I better do something. And so I was messing around with all sorts of stuff, um, and then slowly you just find, it has a natural way about it.
Mhm.
Whether you'll find something that you like to play around with, whatever medium it might be, like you were saying about the pottery.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that if people would just put themselves in that position, maybe go to a workshop, in their local area or
Yeah.
something. There's plenty of them around, isn't there? And just go and whittle a spoon or something, out of wood, or
Mm.
just see what they like doing. It may be doing watercolor painting. It could be anything, couldn't it?
Really could.
But I don't actually think from the approach of like the mindset and how it can benefit you like that. I think the medium is irrespective, really. Takes all sorts, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You know.
just got to try it and see what's what. So, in terms of like the stuff that you're doing now, have you got any like new projects on the horizon when it comes to your table making or things like that?
I do. I've well, it's been set back a little bit, but I actually got a. It's a friend of mine, and she's opened a pub
Mm-hmm.
called the Woof, and it's just
Great.
been flooded. We had some torrential rain a couple of months back, didn't we?
Ah,
And
I
in
see.
the geography of this place, it's flooded it, so we've been set
Oh
back.
dear.
But I'm using the Shou Sugi Ban to do a lot of the pub tables.
Oh
And that's
nice.
really interesting because they're the same wood, but they're each different and they're really old, and they've been treated badly. And
Mm-hmm.
well, it's a pub. Um, so I have a project to do a lot of the tables in there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really exciting because then a lot of people will get to see them and sit with them and touch them because they have a nice texture to them as well as a look.
Oh great.
So that's one, and also have quite a bit of garden furniture that I've got to do, which I will be keeping people up to date with. Some nice benches and yeah. So there's little bits,
Oh, awesome.
but yeah, there's little bits
And I'm sure
to
we'll be up to date. We
pipeline.
kept up to date in the community as well, which, like I said, it's always great to see like just like some other people, bar myself, kind of just sharing like, oh, I had this insight today, and then obviously people like yourself come on. It's like, oh, and I thought about this, and it's just really great to like hear other
Yeah.
people and their
Yeah, well, I
perspective.
would, a big shout out to you for doing that, and I would really encourage everyone that gets to listen to this, or that's in the group, or any of your other socials, that please, contribute because the smallest thing can, it can start to snowball things, can't it?
Definitely.
And you need that support, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Which is why overwhelmed creative I've been at points in my life, and this is the reason why I did it to begin with, just to bring
Yeah.
people together, because everybody can resonate in some way, whether it be a small setback, a big setback, or whatever. In some way or shape or form, we will resonate with each other.
Yeah, definitely, and just just however small the contribution is, even if it's just asking about a few questions about someone else's work, and everyone, or certainly me and you, any advice you could give or anything like that, we'd gratefully do it, wouldn't we?
No,
So
definitely.
yeah.
So my last bit I'm going to leave you with today. So any last words of wisdom, words of encouragement that you think anybody on this podcast would like to hear today?
Wisdom, I don't know about.
But people say that sometimes to you. I'm like, well, yeah, words of wisdom, encouragement, whatever you want, call it,
Words of
insights.
wisdom. Encouragement would be get in touch. Definitely get in touch with someone that can help you, because I did it the hard way. But certainly get in touch with your local workshops or something like. Get in touch with us, with Amy. Just to open the conversation. To start exploring what could happen, because and there's no time limit to any of this, is there? So don't put yourself under any pressure to find your niche, if you like.
Yeah.
Just start the conversation, or go to craft fairs, support local makers, that kind of thing. Just go and have a look what's out there, and you'll find something will attract you. It's like the law of attraction, isn't it? You tend to attract what you are, or how you are. So that would be my only word of advice or encouragement. It's not advice, it's encouragement. Is just get it started.
I love that.
Get the
No,
ball rolling.
thank you so much for joining us on this episode today. It's been great to chat with you.
You're welcome. Brilliant. Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.